G'day guys, Chronicles of Solid here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about 4 adventure bikes that you might not have heard about, so let's get into the video. Okay, the first bike on the list is SWM's Superdual. Now if you're not familiar with SWM, they're an Italian company. They began in the 70s and like a lot of companies they went under in the 80s financial crisis. But they're back thanks to Chinese investment and backing. The bike that got my attention first, and you probably are the same, was the SWM RS650R, which is a rebadged version of the Husqvarna TE630, which was a great dual sport. And the Superdual actually borrows the same motor. So the Superdual uses the 600cc EFI that makes 53 horsepower that was used in the Husqvarna TE630 and is used in the RS650R. It was a smart move really by SWM, as it's an already proven motor, and the RS650R is a great dual sport, and this is most definitely aimed at the adventure category. So again, we have the SWM Superdual. Now looking at the pictures, there are key differences to making the Superdual more adventure ready. The first is that the Superdual has a 19-inch front spoked wheel and a 17-inch rear, which offers better handling on the road compared to the RS650R's more off-road orientated 2118 setup. But I have heard whispers that you will be able to order the Superdual with the 2118 combo, but that is just forum gossip, there's no confirmation yet. Suspension is the same at the rear and travel at the front is the same. The smaller wheels give the Superdual less ground clearance at 7.1 inches, but that presumably gives the Superdual better road manners. That means that the seat height will be more accessible as well, which is 860 millimeters. The petrol tank has been up to 19 litres, which is pretty respectable in the adventure category, and a welcome sight to those who know the wallet-crushing woes of an aftermarket tank. SWM also claim that the Husky engine makes slightly more power in the Superdual than the RS650R. This is because they use a low-slung exhaust, but we won't know for sure until dyno figures come out. Additionally, the bike comes with decent crash protection, getting upper and lower engine crash guards, which we can see painted in red in the pictures. We also get hand guards and a bash plate. There are also items to make the ride more comfortable, including the big screen, the optional fog lights, and also optional hard luggage, which is a nice addition. Of course, this all adds weight, so the Superdual is roughly 159 kilograms, though caution should be noted with that weight, as I'm betting that that's the dry weight, as that's what they did with the RS650R. So wet, you're probably looking at 160 plus, maybe 170 kilos. That sounds heavy for a dual sport, but for a lightweight adventure bike that is pretty light. Now let us begin with speculation. We know the engine is solid, but we'll have to wait and see how other parts fare after some good knocks and drops. Dealer support is another concern, being a smaller company. While I have not read any quality issues, and SWM do offer a 2-year unlimited kilometre warranty, I have heard whispers of difficulty getting parts with those who own them here locally. Also, we have longevity of the brand should also be considered, and this was the reason I left it off my top 10. SWM has only been back since 2014, and only time will tell if they are here to stay. They're certainly giving it a good go, and for those who are brave enough to take the risk, a modern lightweight adventure bike is a reward. Definitely take note, Japan, but it's certainly not without its risks getting SWM. but from the paper it looks like it's a pretty good package. Another brand to generate a lot of buzz around its recent offerings is AJP. AJP are a Portuguese company that has been around since the late 80s in the enduro and off-road scene. Like SWM, they've benefited from the transience of Husky's recent history, so they've been able to snap up the same 600cc single. They have also offered the PR3, 4 and 5, which are getting good reviews as enduro bikes. But we're here to talk about the PR7. The press hyperbole states that the PR7 is all about off-road performance, being as light as possible while still maintaining comfort for adventure riding. All very subjective preferences, but it does show that AJP have identified an obvious market gap. It has the 1821 spoke wheels, it has a 6-speed gearbox, 17-litre tank, has 300mm of travel up front and 280 at the back. This gives the PR7 a massive 12.5 inches of travel. KTM 640, anyone? A few people have had the chance to ride pre-production models and have praised the bike for its performance, agility and handling. Take what you will from that though, because we don't know how much their palms were greased. It is clear that AJP has put some thought into design, with the petrol tank being under the seat for mass centralisation and the airbox being where the petrol tank would usually sit. It's a really simplistic design. It basically sits right where a conventional tank would. 2 bolts undo the housing and a couple of rubber bands. Take that off and it's that simple. It also means you can do extremely deep water crossings for those brave enough to attempt it. Australia will see the PR7 in April. I think all of them are spoken for, going by forum talk. If you're wondering why your country isn't going to get them in April, it comes down to the ABS laws. In Australia, ABS is not mandatory, so we get the non-ABS model in April. Whereas countries where ABS is mandatory, small companies like AJP have to put a lot of R&D into offering an ABS model, which will be in September of 2017. And this is part of the issue with companies like SWM and a few that I'll mention in a little bit, is these companies usually are haphazard in where they're released because of the ABS or electronics laws within the countries. Obviously, the same problem applies to AJP in that dealer support and parts availability will make or break the success of the company as it attempts to move into the bigger adventure market. But I think we can all agree that a Duel rally bike is a much needed model in the category, so I do hope AJP do a really good job. Now we move on to CCM, which is a British manufacturer that got its start out of the death of BSA. The GP450 is their adventure bike, using the 450 from the BMW G450X. Again, we see an already proven engine being used, a smart move. CCM have been pumping out the GP450s since November 2014. Of all the bikes here, it's actually got proper ride reviews and a cult following. Let's get into the numbers. Dry weight is 125 kilos. That's stupid light, even for a dry weight. Disappointingly, it has a 5-speed gearbox, a 450cc single making 41 horsepower and 43 newton meters of torque. The standard 41 horsepower can be upped to 51 from factory. It has a giant 20-litre tank, a proper high ground clearance of 14 inches, and we also see the much needed 21/18 spoke wheels. ABS and traction control comes standard. For those shorter riders, the standard seat height of 890mm can be lowered to 790mm. That's about the same height as an F700 GS, which is crazy low for an adventure bike. Those are the basic specs. I won't go into the finer details as there are 3 model variants, all offering different components and will be here until Christmas. CCM have obviously put a lot of effort into offering plenty of accessories, and this is important for companies like CCM or AJP or SWM, is that they offer lots of aftermarket support for parts, because it's going to be harder to find aftermarket parts for these bikes, so factory offering these options is a necessity. Reviews of the CCM are positive, but there are a few things to consider. One is the price. You're getting a premium hand-built bike, so that costs big money. Also, I've heard reports of the gearbox being a bit clunky sometimes when shifting, and some say the engine does stall a little easier than they would prefer. A very anecdotal metric is the online forum following a bike has as to how good it is. I'm a big believer in picking a bike that has a strong following with a dedicated fan base. It doesn't have to be like, a giant thread. I don't measure it by a million views. It just needs a dedicated and knowledgeable kind of following or a community. And the GP450 has that community. This would be great as a hard-edged overlander or as a rally bike with panniers, so it's definitely worth your consideration. Last on my list is the Benelli TRK 502. Benelli is the oldest Italian motorcycle brand, and they were quite a premium brand used in the same sentence as MV Agusta or Moto Guzzi, but recently they were bought out by a Chinese company and they have had quality control and reliability issues. This TRK 502 kind of manages to capture the 1200 GSA presence without copying it too much, so I think they've got a good balance here. And they've also really found their feet in the Indian market recently, so it's looking positive. The TRK is the adventure offering. The base model comes with 17-inch wheels, which can be upgraded to a 19-inch, 17-inch combo, which is the first kind of proper adventure setup that you would need. It's a 500cc parallel twin, making between 46 and 48 horsepower depending on where you read it, and 45 newton meters of torque. That engine is mated to a 6-speed gearbox with a hydraulic clutch, which is really nice to see. The 502 comes with a massive 20-litre tank, also another nice addition. It also has a decent ground clearance at 9 inches or 9.5 inches depending on the wheel setup you ask for. It also has standard ABS, and the brakes are pretty good as well. You get dual 320mm Brembo brakes up front and a Brembo rear 260mm. Looking at the images, we can see that there are crash bars, bash plate, handguards and luggage options, all a must for an adventure bike, and presumably these will be made available as accessories because there hasn't been any confirmation as yet. There is one specification that gives me pause for concern. The dry weight is listed at 210 kilos. That's pretty crazy. With all the fluids and petrol in the TRK, I'm betting that weight's going to be close to an Africa Twin, which kind of defeats the entire purpose of the bike in my opinion. For a lightweight adventure bike, you really want it to be lightweight, and that's why we choose a smaller displacement. But that is only a problem in the Western market, where small displacement bike's biggest advantage is its weight. However, as I've said before, we're not the only market. In fact, the Western markets are quite a small market for motorcycles. In India, where Benelli are finding their footing, there really aren't many affordable big adventure bikes for the average person. So the 502 could fill in the seat as the 1200 GSA of India, where the market heavily skews towards smaller bikes. However, a 210 kilo 500cc motorcycle in the Western market is going to struggle a bit in my opinion. But that is just my opinion, and my kind of preferences towards a motorcycle are different to everyone else's, so I'm sure there is a market out there for this bike. We've also got to think of the more the merrier really. New bikes bring new competition, which helps grow the market and leads to further innovation. So bring on any new adventure bike in my books. Okay guys, that about wraps up that video. Hopefully I've put at least one motorcycle on your radar that you didn't already know about. If you have more information or have missed a bike, please leave it down in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And as always, I've been Chronicles of Solid, and I'll catch you in the next video guys. See you later.